What's going on, music fans? Welcome back to last week's album where we're talking about good music. Before we go any further, let's kick things off like we always do. Cheers, Kevin.
Cheers, Derek, and everyone at home.
This week we are reviewing Reflektor by Arcade Fire. This is their fourth album, following 2010's The Suburbs, which won a lot of awards in 2011. This album was co-produced by James Murphy of LCD Sound System, and there's kind of a lot of things going on here on this album, so let's just go to Sounds Like. Kevin, what do you think Reflektor sounds like?
All right, for my Sounds Like, I'm going with the world's most successful indie rock band goes to a Haitian disco, then reflects as the sun comes up. What do you have, Derek?
Nice. I think Reflektor sounds like Arcade Fire kicking up its ambition with envelope-pushing, sonically-enhanced indie rock jams with heavy Greek mythology-inspired lyrics, once again claiming their spot atop indie rock's Mount Olympus. So, let's then go to key tracks. Kevin, what did you have?
For key tracks on this album, Derek, I have Here Comes the Nighttime from side 1, and from side 2, I have It's Never Over, Hey Orpheus. What about you?
Nice. I also had Here Comes the Nighttime off side 1, and Joan of Arc also of side 1. So let's kick it off with the one we both agreed on, Here Comes the Nighttime. Kevin, you want to start us off?
Yeah, sure. Content-wise, this song deals with sort of dusk in Haiti, literally, and then there's also this message about missionaries going to Haiti to preach to people who are already very spiritual. But the reason I like it is a little bit more, or a lot more, actually, because of the music. It's got this freewheeling, frenzied start that transitions into a much mellower vibe. These sort of megaphone-ish vocals, very island guitar, this whimsical, awesome piano hook, which for me makes the song. And then there's this really deep horn or synth, or I'm not sure what it is, but it definitely adds to the tune. And it has this freak out at the end where it goes into this Haitian rah-rah romp with drums, synths, guitars, vocals, all building, and then coming down to this very, again, chilled out, clattering drum and bass outro. Very long song, as most of these are, but I thought they made it last. And it never gets old on this track for me. Why did you dig it, Derek?
Kevin, a lot of the same reasons, just different words here to describe a lot of that. I guess just a few things from my notes. I thought the beginning, the Caribbean drums, which kind of remained a constant throughout, the spacey synth chords, and what I thought you were trying to get at, the lumbering bass, just synth blast. I'm not really sure what that was. You did kind of transition later. I had an old-timey sounding piano, which kind of came in and out, and I thought it kind of lent itself to some very playful instrumental melodies. I almost thought it sounded like a carnival on the moon or something, just almost very surreal. But exactly as you said, it kind of, even though I think the bass line itself is a really good example of just the way they were able to change everything while maintaining the same rhythm, if you will. The drums stayed the same, but it went from this very wobbly, just obtuse bass sound to a very upbeat, island-sounding, groovy bass guitar riff. So I just really liked it for a lot of those same reasons. I'll go to my next key track here, which was also actually the closer on side 1, Joan of Arc. This one lyrically kind of tells the tale of Joan of Arc, which I'm assuming you're all very familiar with. It opens with just solid, punchy-in-the-face punk rock with crashing cymbal blasts and in-your-face guitars, but then it hits the brakes and turns into this just almost post-punk, space odyssey, if you will. I thought at the end, though, my favorite part, structurally it kind of followed the Joan of Arc story. These vocal melodies kind of fade off into this just almost warm, bright synth chord, which is quickly overridden, if you will, by just this animalistic trample of drums, which is abruptly cast into an extended silence. Just musically, they just really captured that entire event, and I really enjoyed that. So, Kevin, what about you?
Nice. Very, very studied critique, Derek. I dig it. For my second key track, though, I'm going with It's Never Over, Hey Orpheus. And similar to how Joan of Arc follows the story of Joan of Arc, obviously this one follows the tale of Orpheus, who's going to rescue Eurydice from the underworld. It has themes of patience, maturity, and everlasting love, which kind of weaves throughout the album itself. Musically, though, it's got these really pinging keys, this drenched in reverb guitar, synthetic beats, very bright and also very dark synths at different times. And it starts out as this total dance track, and then it totally chills out with this bridge that almost reminded me of Elliott Smith, and that it's just very soft-spoken and barren, and then later right back into the big sounds, only this time with horns and overlapping vocals, really building at the end. So, yeah, killer track.
All right, well, let's go to Best Lyric. Mine comes from Here Comes the Night, which, as you're alluding to earlier, lyrically they kind of you attack these quote-unquote missionaries, and at one point they ask, but if there's no music in heaven, then what's it for? And I just really enjoyed that. I mean, I love lyrics that just really hone in on music and how awesome it is, and they really did that here, especially in the context of the song overall.
Yeah, on that note, just real quick, I listened to an interview of Win Butler earlier this week where he's talking about the album and how great it is that nowadays in music you can listen to anything and it's not uncool, and it's cool that we've come that far in terms of music, and this album sort of exemplifies all these different elements coming together. So, side note. But my best lyric, Derek, was almost that exact one. Instead, I opted for one from Normal Person, which goes, when they get excited, they try to hide it. Look at those normals go. And I thought it sort of summed up this sort of overall message about the reflective age, which I think is a Kierkegaard theme, where people are doing less things and much more reflecting, and how this album is all about action, and the music exemplifies that as well. So I thought this line summed up the album nicely.
All right, so there you have it. Let's go to overall rating. Kevin, what do you think?
All right, I thought I was going to go big, but I'm settling on 3 out of 5. The album feels a lot looser and liver than past ones, which is in a really good way. You can tell they're having fun with this. And yes, it's long and indulgent, but it's a double album, so I give them a pass for that. But for me, after Disc 1, it started to lag on Disc 2, and it felt a little bit over-ambitious. A lot of longer songs, most of which are pretty good. But a lot of varying themes that I think they tie together pretty well, but not perfectly for me. And people are comparing it to U2's Achtung Baby and Radiohead's Kid A, just in terms of the band really shaking things up with their sound. And I think they did that here, but it's a little bit too much for me. So 3 out of 5. What do you think, Derek?
Kevin, I'm giving it 4 out of 5. I thought it was ambitious as well, but I thought they pulled it off more than I guess you might have thought. I think they did really hit some good points lyrically, but I think I do agree with you at some points. Even the lyrics themselves were getting a little repetitive. But overall, I really did dig this new sound they were going with. Really like the James Murphy influence. And overall, this is one of my. I like this more than I don't know, maybe the 1 or 2 last Arcade Fire albums. So overall, I enjoyed it, giving it 4 out of 5. All right, so there you have it. Thanks for joining us again here at last week's album. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. And don't forget to tell us what you thought about this album. And we'll see you again next week. Thanks again for joining us.
Cheers, guys. Have a good one.